At some point I confronted the president and I've said, you're remaking the college, you haven't left enough time in faculty meetings, you're burning up all the time in faculty meetings on these announcements. You have to let us discuss these things. And so he arranged something like 6 meetings that were supposed to solve this problem where 20 people at a time could sign up to have a discussion with the president. So the email list was the only place left at which we could access every other member of the faculty and have a discussion, which is why I repeatedly went to the email list and said, look, we've got a problem, we've got authoritarianism taking over the college, this intersectional stuff is dangerous and being deployed in a way that's a hazard to the core values of the institution. And
one of the other things that you said, I believe, was we keep on hearing that we are at an incredibly racist institution, and we have yet to hear any credible evidence for racism here on campus.
We have a problem with racism here on campus. And we have a problem with other folks not being treated the way that they should be treated, and this isn't going to continue on my watch. What Phyllis is saying, we're asking for a paradigm shift. We're the Evergreen State College. We do diversity well. We're leading the nation in diversity. But one thing we're not leading the nation in is equity. And what that means is that some of y'all sitting in these seats and some of y'all sitting in these seats have had experiences that ain't been right. The cost is too high. And the implications are too much. And at some point in time, if this campus is going to stand up for what it espouses to be, it needs to say enough is enough.
I established and charged this Equity Council, this incredible Equity Council, with developing a plan for institutional change, systemic change that would enable Evergreen to acknowledge and address the equity gaps that are pervasive on our campus. And I want to thank, with immense gratitude, the council for the work you've invested, the heartbreaking effort you have gone through, and for the incredible plan you have put together. Please let's all give them a applause.
the Canoe Meeting was not called the Canoe Meeting when we were asked to go to it. It was called a forum. It was not a forum. It was a celebration of the equity plan, which had supposedly been distributed to the faculty, but was actually not available to them until I emailed the faculty with this document. You know, irony of ironies, I'm the one sending out this plan and saying, actually, yeah, y'all should read this. So the meeting occurs. It is a celebration. At the celebration, architects of the plan essentially say, this plan is going to happen.
Because it is no longer acceptable that our mission and vision only applies to a few. So as we think about this plan, we should be thinking about how are we unscrewing the screws, and it will take many hands to do this, to unscrew the structure of institutional racism. We have a beginning to do this. And our hope is that we're inviting you to come along. We're gonna do it. Don't get it twisted. But we would like for you to join us on this road, on this journey. So we invite you. We want more conversation, and we know there's much more work to be done. We invite that conversation. But if you want to be an obstructionist, work on your own.
So the charge for them was to do something relatively small from the president, and they go into how we're going to start hiring in the future, and how, you know, just they go way beyond what it is that the president, and just mission leap. Yeah. How about, yeah. And some of the things that they argue, some of the things that this plan, which we know that no one has seen because it literally has not been made available, even though the claim was that it was available, are things like, from now on, not just individuals hired to positions need to have an equity justification, but every single position itself needs to have an equity justification.
Wow.
Which means,
Wow.
how do you hire a chemist? Does chemistry have an equity
Just
justification?
thinking hard sciences. Yeah.
How do you hire an artist who doesn't happen to be engaged in social justice issues? That is the end of the liberal arts college. That is the end of the liberal arts college right there, right? So that is one of many things in this document. You know, we printed it out, and I have my hand scrawled like every single page. Like, what are they doing? Oh my God!
So we're gonna do something for you today that we did as a group in August. And we're gonna ask for key stakeholders that are on this campus to get on board our journey to equity. So what I'm gonna do first is ask, this is the council. Our council is large, expansive, and we're gonna get on a canoe, okay? And we're gonna get on a canoe that's gonna sometimes have fierce waves, unbearable headwinds, and sometimes intentional or unintentional extra rocking of the boat because we're not on the same page or on the same heartbeat.
The canoe was a metaphor for the journey to this magical land of what they were calling equity. And so the idea, I mean, the whole thing is almost too preposterous to believe, but with distinctly non-hospitable to canoe shots of a rocky coastline on which waves are breaking heavily and the sound of those waves breaking.
So if we can bring this canoe forward some and make sure it's a straight canoe. If we need to have our canoe, and John, let me know if this is not okay, can it be 3 wide? 2 wide, okay, so we gotta make this happen.
I mean, the whole thing didn't hang together visually, auditorily, conceptually, mathematically. Really, the canoe was not well thought out.
Conceptually, it seems good. We're sending the college down the river.
Well, I mean, you know, I did, and I must say this is very uncomfortable for me because I think if there are 2 populations that really have an extremely strong claim in the U.S. to consistent structural oppression, it's Indians and Africans, people of African origin. You know, emotionally, I'm on board with the idea of, you know, a canoe journey to somewhere, but this looked like they had cloaked a freight train in the imagery of a canoe.
Oh, hold on 1 second, hold on. The senior administrators, you have to ask for permission and commit some things before boarding the canoe. So can we step back out?
So I would like to board the canoe because I'm committed to enhancing and furthering inclusion and equity in our campus community among both students and staff, faculty, and to do that with compassion and kindness.
Personally, I am committed to making Evergreen a more student-ready campus, and as provost, I am committing resources to help train our faculty to be able to promote equity and inclusion in the classroom and outside the classroom.
I carry with me the legacy of boarding schools, and I carry with me the legacy of adoption, forced adoption. And I'm here because I refuse to continue to be assimilated. I refuse. And I refuse to let whiteness consume me. And I'm gonna say that word explicitly, whiteness. I refuse. I refuse for my mother. I refuse for her mother, for my grandfather, for my ancestors, for my brothers and sisters, my relatives today. I refuse.
I'm here and I commit the position of privilege and power I occupy as the president of this college to invest in this council, its initiatives, and its plans.
I'm sitting there in this room with several hundred other people, and I can, in my mind, almost count the people in the room who understand that something terrible is afoot, who understand that A, this is a bizarre way to do this, B, it's duplicitous. They've told us that they're sharing this document, they've told us that we're going to be able to discuss it, and then they've threatened us for daring to think about questioning it. And so there's a way in which, sitting in that room, you know, I knew that Heather was a couple blocks away and that she would understand this exactly as I did. I knew that there was, I hesitate to say it, but there was a dean in the room who I knew wasn't going to say anything, but he knew how wrong this was. And so there's a way in which there's a sea of people engaged in a shared delusion, and then there's a few people witnessing the delusion and isolated, unable to exchange words or anything. That sense of being alone in a crowd is profound, and that really was how that meeting felt.
And in a crowd of people who are supposed to be your colleagues.
Yeah, who are sleepwalking.